the proof that gold and silver are indeed accumulated by criminals, there's absolute proof. I have to retract what I said earlier, because gold and silver are definitely stockpiled by criminals, and that's proven by the fact that the world central banks have bought a record amount of gold over the past.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we need to start over, right? No, I'm
Right.
just
Well,
joking.
high crimes and misdemeanors, that's
The road to $2,200 gold, a new all-time high. Does it seem like it's out of reach? There's a lot going on in the world right now that could easily propel the price of silver, the price of gold, to all-time highs. We're going to talk with Buddy Rumble, the Louisiana gold guru, today. Get his opinion on a number of factors, a number of stories going on, the criminality of gold and silver. We also have a new concept that nobody talks about when we look at our silver and gold, which also lends to its ability to provide value over the generations. And finally, we want to talk about results from a recent poll that had some shocking results about how Americans look at gold and silver. After all that, I want to introduce our special guest, Mr. Buddy Rumble from Louisiana. Buddy, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Ron. It looks like you're doing good. The bear's doing good, but the little bear's gone. You got the
Little Bear, yeah. Well, little Bear had to move because my one of my daughters wanted to play ping pong. So Little Bear is, I don't know if you can see him. He's back behind the big bear.
Oh, I see. Yeah, way back there. Yeah, I see it now.
That's the Silver Bear. Pat Holland named him Smitty, and he has a blindfold on with an 85 written on it. The blindfold will be removed when the price of silver hits $85 per ounce.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, hopefully soon.
Yeah.
Buddy, I want to get your opinion on something. This morning, I was sitting in the living room having my coffee. I had to overhear the Today Show. My wife, Susie, records the Today Show, and they started talking about gold, of all things. But they were talking about it in a not very positive light. They were talking about how in Central Africa, that Russian military group, the Wagner group, has taken over control of certain countries and is now stealing gold from the people and melting it into bars, and that it's impossible to trace. And it reminded me that there is almost like a mainstream media agenda to kind of paint gold and silver in a bad light. It's often associated with, organized crime, the pirates. Any thoughts on that matter?
Well, my thoughts on it, and of course I work in law enforcement, and being here in Louisiana, we're right here on the coast. We've got an influx of all the stuff that comes in, all the bad stuff, with all of our goods and services and supplies that comes in here too in New Orleans. But I have not seen anybody arrested or any gold or silver transactions going on. And I think we're just trying to hype it up and make it look bad. I feel, I think it's a lot of BS, keep it PG, but I think that I think it's a story that, and not to be political, I do not want to be political on here, but with the administration, they've got a story to sell, or they've got something they want to sell, and I think they have to burn everything down in order to put their policies in. And I think gold and silver is the backstop that keeps them from instituting all the things that they want to do. So I think that's just it's a negative story that's probably a lie. I'm not saying it didn't happen, what they was talking about in South Africa, but I don't think it's hyped
up.
Yeah, I don't think it's going on as like what they're saying it is. I mean, you got diamonds there. You got De Beers that, they get their diamonds out of Africa, and you don't hear the story about diamonds. Of course, we don't, diamonds not really used in as money, but I think they fear the gold and silver. That is people's way to preserve your wealth. And I think that gold and silver, I've seen it, and it's physical, it's solid. People, I mean, if you hold it in your hand, that's much better than having your life savings in stocks and bonds. That's just it's gambling, in my opinion. I mean, it's okay to put it in stocks and bonds, that's fine, because it's made people money. But you just don't know what stock's going to go up and what's going to go down. You don't know if the Dow is going to go down or it's going to go up. But I think that story that you're talking about, I believe it's hype that they want to put a negative
spin on gold. And
negative spin on gold. Yeah.
Peter Grandich, I was talking to him yesterday, and he's been around the gold industry for decades. Very smart guy. He likes to say that gold and silver are kryptonite to the U.S. dollar. They're competition, right? And when Nixon took us off the gold standard in 1971, Pat Holland from the Missouri Freedom Initiative turned me onto this. Like, there was including Hollywood, there was a coordinated effort to tarnish the reputation of gold and silver, because when they took the dollar off the gold standard, at that point they don't want gold to do well. And another interesting thing I've heard several people say as well is that the reality is, throughout the world, criminal activity, their preferred store of value for transacting in criminal activity is the U.S. dollar.
Yes, exactly.
You don't see pictures of the Mexican drug lords stuff that they take, where you don't see piles of gold and silver. No, you always see like these giant, piles of U.S. dollars. That's the real truth.
The cash, yes, the dollar cash, yeah, when in the physical form is what the preferred money in transactions. Now, not to say that maybe some countries and maybe Africa or other places that and it would be a much higher end crime or stuff that's going on. That's not to say that somebody don't deal with gold and silver that way, but you don't ever see, you don't see gold when they arrest somebody for whatever. You don't see gold, you don't see silver. It's wads of cash.
Exactly.
That's the preferred method of payment.
I got something. I gotta interrupt you, buddy, before I forget this, because it's so hilarious. The proof that gold and silver are indeed accumulated by criminals, there's absolute proof. I have to retract what I said earlier, because gold and silver are definitely stockpiled by criminals, and that's proven by the fact that the world central banks have bought a record amount of gold over the past.
Yeah. Exactly.
So maybe we need to start over, right? No,
right. Well, high crimes and misdemeanors. That's. I mean, they're. You got white collar crime, you got blue collar crime, but bankers and them people, they're their own category of crime. I mean, you can't. I don't know. It's crazy, but.
All right. Now, I gotta be honest with you, buddy. You and I have known each other for a few months now. Yeah. And I was waiting for that breakthrough moment where when you were gonna hit me with something that was just gonna knock my socks off. And you did that last night, because for so long I like to preach to people when it comes to silver and gold that they are universal, right? I always say, they're valuable everywhere in the world.
Right.
They're also timeless. Right? They've been around and been valuable for just thousands of years, right? And that's where my that's where that ended. But last night you said something to me that I'd never thought of, which is so true. And I think it's something that most gold and silver investors don't really think about. And basically what you said is that gold and silver are apolitical. They are not political. And that had never really dawned on me. Like, gold and silver over all these millennia have witnessed every form and fashion of political system, political party come and go, and they've maintained their value. And I want to thank you for bringing that up, because I thought that's a powerful concept that I really don't hear. I'm going to give you credit. I mean, that's something that I just have never heard or thought of myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, I mean, just like within our country, I mean, you got the two major parties, and I'm not gonna put the other party or over the other. They both or whatever, but it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. Both sides have people that buy, or not. Let's say not buy. Well, you buy gold as jewelry. You exchange your fiat for real, like with the gold bullion or the gold or silver bullion. But both sides of the party people, there's stackers on Democrats and stackers and Republicans. There's people that know the true meaning of wealth, which is in gold and silver. And so like I said, yeah, it's not political. I mean, both sides know that.
Yeah, yep. And I think we came to that idea when we were having a discussion about the debt limit, the debt ceiling crisis,
right?
Which we're going to touch on a little bit later in this video. And I just thought that was such yet another attribute to gold and silver. And I have to be honest, I didn't know. I thought the way to describe that was apolitical, so I had to Google that word, apolitical.
Mm-hmm.
And the definition is basically not at all interested in like political motivations or political developments, whatever. It's just kind of observing, but always holding its value. Speaking about the American people, there was very, very, what I would say, interesting and almost shocking Gallup poll results that were recently released. And what it said was that in 2023, they surveyed Americans, and almost 26% of Americans said that they thought gold was the best store of value long-term investment. The only thing they did rate higher was real estate, but they rated gold as higher than stocks, bonds, and savings accounts. Now, what's really interesting about this is that in 2021, so the previous year, when they did the same poll, only like 15% of people favored gold. So gold like took a big step up in 1 year. And I think what's I want to shine some light on this. What's potentially very exciting about that is that America is the richest country in the world still, and we know that like very few people have money in silver and gold, right? Like you and I, we're in a little bubble echo chamber, but the potential for growth on the investment side is astounding. And it could, we could see potentially multiples of amounts of new money coming in.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think you're right. But with that rising, and I mean, myself, and I've touched on it before. I grew up around people that was in business or just regular ordinary folks that they had gold and silver, and I seen it. So you take the younger generations that are here now, they've probably never seen their grandfather or their father or whoever have a safe with gold and silver in it, coins, and so they don't realize it. But I think Americans are waking up, because I've seen it just from 1997 when we sold our business, and my mom and dad, after selling it and paying the taxes, and they had a very good financial advisor at Morgan Stanley, or their broker, and they put their nest egg in at Morgan Stanley and stocks and everything. And I've seen over the years since that, it gold done better than the stock market. I've seen the go up, but go down. It didn't protect their wealth. If they would have bought gold and silver back then, and with today's prices, they would have tripled or quadrupled their money that they had. And I have full faith in gold and silver. But I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just saying what I've seen and experienced.
Right. You know, it's funny you say that, because I had a viewer ask me what caused gold to go up so much from like around the year 2000 until where we are today. And right before we got on, I Googled what was the gold price in 2002, and it showed me 2002, 2001, and gold was below $300 an ounce.
Exactly.
You know? So it's 6-7 times higher right now. That would be the equivalent of us going to, you know, $14,000-15,000 gold over the next 20 years, which a lot of people will scoff at, right?
I think it will.
Yeah, I mean, I do too. I mean, when you look, let's just touch on the debt limit, the debt ceiling. They're talking about us reaching 50 trillion in debt. I forget when, but not too far out in the future, right? Where's all that money going to come from? It's only going to come from diluting the current dollars, printing more money. And, you know, I don't know, just with everything going on, the prospect of gold, I know it seems crazy. And, you know, silver, $85, right? Can seem, you know, like it doesn't.
I think the silver will go above 100 an ounce. And I don't know exactly when, but I feel very confident it will. But I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, you're fine. You're great. No, you know, and I was listening to, I don't know the man's name, but he wrote the book, The Great Silver Bull. Very well respected. He, you know, he's like, he says $300 for silver. He says, I think it'll be a blow off top type arrangement. Like it's not probably going to stay there. But when I look at all the numbers and all the data, and look at things like the gold, silver, that, you know, that we could easily see $300 silver, you know, sometime in the next 10 years.
Well, I could see it. I mean, look at all. I mean, if we're going to have gold and silver, it's got to be mined. And with, you know, I don't know, I haven't really kept up with the other countries, but I know probably Europe too, but with this Green New Deal agenda and getting away from fossil fuels, and, you know, shutting down coal mines and not tapping in and getting oil, that them mines fuel, they got the machines, they don't run on air. And, you know, I know what we paid running trucks, trash trucks. I was in the waste industry, and I know how much fuel we went through a day with our trucks. And that fuel, when it goes up, it hurts. And with them trying to push the green agenda, which I'm not saying it's bad, I'm just, you got to move into it easy, but they're cutting it. Yeah, they're shutting it down, and it's going to hurt us. If these miners can't afford to mine it, gold or silver or anything, it's going to cause it to go up. That is, and I could see it going up. I really can. Just
silver, silver mines. You talk to any CEO in the silver mining industry, there's very little exploration going on for new silver. There are very few new silver mines being permitted anywhere, because it's so hard to get a permit. It's hard to find the silver. It's hard to get money to build new silver mines. I mean, it's, in a nutshell, you know, the supply of silver that will be coming onto the market will be constricted, and there's not going to be a big. It's not like you can flip a switch right? Like, oh, gee, the silver price is $65 an ounce. Let's flip a switch and we're going to double our production. No, it takes like 15 years to double the production.
Yeah,
You can flip the switch, but there's a 15-year delay before you start to get more silver coming out of the ground.
exactly. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work. I mean, it's like what in the waste industry. I would compare the waste industry to gold and silver mining because you got all the equipment, the men, and like with landfills, they go out here if they want to put a new landfill in, they've got to get permits, they got to get approvals, and people never want a landfill next to them, but it might be the perfect place to put it. But like you said, you just don't flip a switch and it's there. It takes a long time to get it produced or getting it out of the ground. There's a lot of prep work, a lot of dirt on top of that silver.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I have one more question for you, and then I'll give you the floor.
Oh, okay.
June 14th, we have the next Federal Reserve interest rate policy announcement. So that's a little under 2 weeks from today. That's going to be a huge day for the gold and silver market, right? I mean, we're dealing with this, hawkish Fed environment that we've been in for the last 14, 15 years. A lot of people are thinking it's time for a pause or a pivot. But no matter how we look at it, the interest rate environment that we've been in for the last almost 2 years now has been putting downward pressure on the price of the precious metals. And I've made a bold prediction, buddy, that I think they're not going to raise rates on the 14th. Certainly I could be wrong, right? But do you have any feeling on that? A lot of people think they're going to raise rates.
I kind of feel like they will. And to go into why kind of gets into political, but I think that there's so much going on out there that they want to change the United States that they have to bring stuff down. And I'm not saying who's involved with it, but I kind of think that they will raise it again. We're in unprecedented times. I mean, the things that goes on in the world today, out of our leaders, and that's, I'm not saying one side or the other. I'm just saying they do some of the craziest things that I can't figure out why they do it unless they know something that I don't know or you don't know or the general public. But they do things that just does not make any sense. And go ahead.
I have to interject this. You said you're not saying one side or the other, and I laughed. I said, no, it's both sides, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
both
yeah,
sides,
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like, it's both sides are doing things that are like, what are you doing?
Why? Yeah. Why are you? I mean, how's this going to help our country? How's it going to help the citizens? Why are you doing this? I mean, and I scratch my head. I don't know, unless they know something that we don't, which I don't know. I really, but I think they'll raise it again. I think, the best advice, and like I said, I'm not a financial planner or anything like that, but I believe if I've got a nest egg, if I got $500,000 or $10,000 or whatever, I'm going to put that in gold and silver, and some cash, because gold and silver has never gone to zero. It's always maintained its wealth. I mean, it might lose value, but hold on to it because it's going to come back. Never sell it. Don't get the people out here. I think that some people think they're going to get rich off of it. That's not the reason to hold it. It's to protect your wealth, and it doesn't matter either in silver or gold, both. So
yeah, well, and it can provide you with the basic life necessities. And if you've got that covered, you could make the argument you are rich, right? I mean, the rest is kind of cream on top, right? But I mean, if it can, Confederate dollars aren't very valuable right now. We could go through a whole slew of paper currencies that have gone to zero, right?
Right.
And I'm not saying the US dollar is going to zero in the next week or month or years, whatever, but gold and silver have never gone to zero. And another thing came to mind as you were talking regarding that awesome concept you brought to my attention last night about gold and silver not being political, is that in this time of political insanity in which we're living, right? Just watch 20 minutes of Fox News and then watch 20 minutes of MSNBC, and it's very clear that we're living in a period of political insanity. And
Right.
why not own something if there's political insanity? You don't want to be part of the insanity. Own gold and silver, because like you said last night, it's not political, right?
Right.
Own the thing that's not part of the insanity. And oh yeah, right, like you said, it's been valuable 5,000 years and everywhere at the same time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's a hard asset. And what I think, what was it, central banks, or was it the International Monetary Fund? One of the, I forget, but they classified gold as a tier 1 asset. And the only other thing that's a tier 1 is US dollar, I believe. I don't want to misquote or anything or say something isn't true, but I think that gold and the US dollar is considered a tier 1 asset with all the major banks.
Yeah. We got, it is. And it's, there was Basel II and Basel III. People can watch, there's hours of videos about that. But, the other thing I think it's important for us to remember, buddy, is the US was on the gold standard until 1971, right? I mean,
right.
Gold has been, silver had been, and our silver was in all of our money, right? I mean, it has been, it's only the last, what is that, 50 years? I mean, and in the eyes of history, 50 years is just a drop in the bucket. In my eyes and your eyes, that's about how old I am. It's everything, right? But the reality is that throughout history, there have been little periods where countries got off the gold standard and it wasn't, and it didn't work out too well. That's just a historical fact. And I think sometimes some people, including myself, who are in the gold and silver space, I can question myself, right? And think, is this crazy? I mean, are we really moving in, into a new age, but then again, when I stop and look and realize, like, well, the world central banks are buying a record amount of gold, what does that tell me?
Tells you better be buying some gold and silver. Or if at least buy, I know gold it's a hard purchase, because, an ounce is right now, I think, what, 1974, 75 when I last looked this morning. And that's, you just can't plunk that down, but you can go out here and buy silver, and accumulate it and then trade that silver in for gold.
Yeah. And you know what? And I kind of hijacked this conversation. One of the things I know you wanted to talk about,
it's
buying gold and silver on a budget. And I think one way, if a person is on a real tight budget, which a lot of us are, right? You can buy an ounce or 2 or 5 or whatever of silver, for instance, a month, right? Try to set aside $100, buy yourself 3 ounces of silver. Gold can be a little prohibitively expensive for a lot of people. And you say, well, buy yourself an ounce of gold every month. Well, if you can, that's a great deal. But with silver, you do have the opportunity. I think it's accessible financially to most everybody.
Right. Well, but the thing of it, people are living on a budget. What I look at is people will go out here. What's the brand new cost of a top of the line cell phone? Will they go at 1,800 or
1,500, something like that?
I mean, I go out not to be given Cricket, but I just got a Cricket phone. I pay was it $64 a month, and I pay, I buy one of their reconditioned, I got 100, it's like 125, maybe $150 phone. And, you know, if people are saying, well, I can't afford it, I mean, well, you cut back on stuff. I mean, you got to protect your future.
Right.
If you don't start young and you wait till you're old, then you can't, you're going to be, you can't protect your future. You got to start out young and, or younger, or, but instead of buying that $1,500 or $2,000 cell phone, get a cheaper phone, you know, cut back,
Yep.
live in your means, pay yourself.
Yep.
You got to be frugal. I mean, you don't have to live on bread and water, but you got to really plan what you buy. You got to have a budget, and you got to stick by that and pay yourself first. That's
Yeah.
what I feel.
Absolutely. And you touched on one of my favorite subjects, cell phones, because I use, and that's what I'm using right now to film this video, a Samsung Galaxy S10, which is like a 2-year-old phone, right? That was their hottest, newest $1,200, $1,400 phone 2 years ago, 3 years ago, maybe it was. It's a used phone I buy from Amazon Renewed. Amazon has a whole program called Amazon Renewed, comes with a 90-day, no questions asked guarantee. I've had this phone for a year. I paid $200 cash for the phone. Okay. I'll put it up against any iPhone, anything else. It works great, right? I'm filming with it right now.
Right.
And it's mine. I own it, right? And I don't use Cricket. I use a company called Red Pocket, which is like Cricket. They're called MSMOs. I don't know. They get to use the big cell companies networks, and Red Pocket uses AT&T's network, which is who we were with before. We were paying like $150 a month for 2 AT&T lines. Now we pay $30 a month total.
Exactly.
And then the service is absolutely the same. It runs on the AT&T network. And I'm like, why wouldn't I want to save $1,500 a year? What is that? That's, I don't know how many ounces of silver, right? That I can stack up.
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see, that's
50.
well,
We're just gonna say 50. Why are you looking at your ceiling, buddy? Is there a calculator up there?
Yeah.
I
was making sure the lighting was working.
Yeah, you're thinking, man, how can I hang up on this guy? How did we get why now we're talking about cell phones? Anything else? Go ahead.
No, I mean, but that's what I was just saying, is that we was talking on cell phones. This isn't the cell phone network, but I mean, there's a lot of stuff you can do. I mean, you can do to buy or transfer your money in, your fiat into real money, gold and silver. I mean, I don't know how much money I've said. Not everybody can do it, but the YouTube University, you can learn to do anything. I mean, I can fix washers and dryers, and my AC compressor went out on my Hummer. And if I'd have went and had a mechanic do it, probably $1,600 to replace it. And I bought a couple extra tools, but I spent $600 to do it myself. And not everybody's set up to do that where they can do it, or they have the tools. But there's always something you can do to fix yourself. If you can do it yourself, why pay somebody else to do it?
Yeah. And I have 2 things I want to say about that. A very wise person once, because I'm the same way. I will attempt to fix everything on my own. Washing machines, cars, you name it. Okay. And you're right. YouTube is an outstanding resource of information. But a good friend of mine, a smart guy, once told me, he said, you might as well try to fix it yourself, because I mean, most likely you're not going to make the situation any worse, right? And so if you fail and you still have to hire a repairman, you're not going to, and that gave me a little more confidence. Like, you know what, that's true, right? I mean, I have a 25-year-old Bosch washing machine down here, and about every 6 months, it'll throw some code up and I can go in and Google it. Most of the time it's just a filter that's a little clogged up. So I have to unscrew it, take the filter, clean it, but to call a wash machine repairman to your house, right? You're probably looking minimum $200 each
Right.
time. The other big thing to remember with what you're talking about is let's say you saved yourself $1,200 putting your new AC compressor in your Hummer, and congratulations, by the way. So you saved yourself $1,200. In order to get that $1,200 though, you probably have to earn close to $2,000 at your job and pay taxes on that $2,000. So really, from an earnings perspective, when you do save yourself, it's not just the money you saved over the repair bill, but it's the additional taxes. If you're using earnings from a job, you also save that as well. It really pays to do stuff yourself.
Right. And that's what I was saying is, yeah, exactly. But I mean, the money that you save, even if you're saving it, that you don't have to put out, well, whatever that savings was, cut it in half and then figure on getting gold or silver, mean, or silver. Yeah. But I mean, that's the key is people get in these bubbles. Well, I don't have time, or you always can, or I don't know how to do it, but you have to look and find ways to make things work.
Yeah. Thank you, buddy. It's been great talking to you. Oh, you wanted to say hello to somebody.
Oh, well, yeah, I wanted to say, that's a funny story. My ex-wife, her cousin, Joe, I was going to say hi to him. I got him turned on to your show videos, and he called, she got a hold of me and asked if he could come or if he could call me. And I said, yeah, I wanted to ask. And so he's just started stacking silver, and he's a prepper. Cool. And, I just wanted to say, give a shout out to him, Joe. And so, but he's just started stacking, and he asked questions. And I like I said, if you ever really want to know, I'll always be there to help you or talk to me. Watch me on.
Yeah, there's a lot of the people in the silver and gold community are generally very, very helpful and very open to helping people out. So, hello, Joe. We're glad you're here. Even the bear. The bear says hello to Joe. Buddy, I'll see you next time. Thank you.
You're welcome. We'll see you. Oh,
go ahead.
But I was going to say, be careful. Don't buy gold.
Why is that?
Well, I was on JM Bullion looking and they got these new King Coronation Britannias, and I had some of them, and I'll have a whole bunch of stuff in my my basket or shopping basket. And I had to stop whatever I was doing. So I had my basket up and I shoved it in my back pocket. And so now I got $400 worth of silver coming. That was an accident.
You did.
I butt bought. People go out and butt dial. I butt bought. And it's a good thing I didn't $10,000 or $15,000 in my shopping cart. I'd be in really trouble.
Right. Do you want me to leave this in the video, buddy?
That's fine. Yeah, that's good.
Okay. All right. Well, let's say goodbye for real. See you, buddy.
All right. See you, Ron. We'll see you next time.